into game.
Спасибо, goodbye.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. There it is, Virtus.Pro versus Team BDS. That is our preparation for today. And I cannot wait to see how this one turns between these two, because Virtus.Pro have shown us a lot of greatness, but there's still a bit more. Maybe BDS, after losing to Kovana, having a few losses actually over the past couple of weeks, maybe that'll be the time that they need. But what's the big story for this one? We're going to talk about it through our rosters. First of all, Virtus.Pro, we have just a bit of time before we head into game, as you saw. So there it is. VP, decent performance, recovering here into 6th place. Maybe they can overtake G2 and put themselves in a pretty decent situation at the end of stage 1.
Look, I mean, it's been an up and down, a sort of tumultuous stage for them. I wouldn't say it's as tumultuous as the CIS comrades of Team Empire by any means, but it has been up and down. I think Pasha alluded to in one of the interviews that you'd seen throughout the season that it really was consistency that they were lacking with, especially in those overtime games. And I think Des and I put it rightly so, is that they struggle to lock out rounds, even when they're in advantage. And when they're in overtime, they struggle to lock those out as well. They have 3 overtime losses and only 1 overtime win, 2 outright wins of 3 points and 2 losses. So they are quite 50-50 for the most part, except when it gets into overtime. Even though they're still collecting points, I think that's what's given them the 6th place position right now, but they could snag out 5th position from G2 if they win today. So we'll see how that turns out for them.
That would be pretty cool to see, if you ask me. It would be G2 or Virtus.Pro, G2, and Trainhard in those positions. Trainhard definitely surprised everybody with the return, as has happened last year in the November Major. But that's Virtus.Pro. Against them on the opposite end, BDS. As Ace called it, BDS had a humdinger of a game versus Kovana yesterday. My opinion, my favy of the season, of the stage so far. Hap, can they bring it back today for the extra points?
Well, that's the question, because that game yesterday might cost them the win of stage 1, because they do not have the head-to-head over Na'Vi. Currently, they are tied for 20 points, and well, that does mean that even if they win here today, they might not even be secured of that 1st place, and thus the 510 SI points that go with it. So it is going to be the question, is BDS going to be able to bring it back, take the win here, and then wait for G2 to pull some points against Na'Vi? Or is BDS just going to fall flat here straight away and then let VP run away with the matchup? Well, the 2 matches that they have lost is Oregon. It's quite kind of funny to see worst map Oregon there, because for a long time we have been saying Oregon is the best map of BDS. You don't want to take them there, but every time they're being beaten, it is on that map. So really wondering if VP is trying to play into that today.
Tight scoreline, of course, between BDS and Kovana. Our lobby's being readied up as we speak. So let's see who you guys picked up for our head-to-head. This one player out of each one of these 2 teams, and it is Milan and Shaiko. What's the comparison here? Because it looks pretty similar.
I mean, I think it'd be quite obvious, especially for anyone who's been following throughout this stage. Milan, the highest rated player on VP. He was the only positively rated player for at least the first half of this particular stage. Every other player started stepping up, the likes of Pasha, Rask, etc. And, well, of course, why not compare, as we're at the end of the stage here, it's their last regular play day here in stage number 1. Why not compare 2 of the highest rated players? I mean, Shaiko, he's one of the top 3 rated players in the entire league. Milan, one of the rookies of the year. So for me, it's just a no-brainer to just compare how well these 2 fraggers are doing.
Yeah, last year Shaiko, of course, was above and beyond literally every single player you could find if you looked at the graphs that were being made in terms of the effectiveness he had. And he has some presence now next to him. Doki right underneath him, and Citizen and Blur, who are outperforming him by just a bit, but still Shaiko absolutely key to BDS's success. Just stick him on a spot on any map which has the opportunity to try and challenge multiple angles, and he is going to be holding it down for you and take 2 or 3 kills every single round as he does so.
Shaiko is just instantly turning to everybody. It's insane watching how he plays, and there's a few players.
Do that again. That was a good little mime act there. I love it.
I need to practice on my karate again. I haven't done karate in years. I was this close to getting a black belt, Jazz. Kyokushin Kaikan Karate. when I was younger.
I used to do Taekwondo, so.
Never did. My cousin did Taekwondo, though. She was pretty good at it. Anyways.
Goalkeeper.
And?
I mean, you don't want to know how many
10
concussions
points
I've got
for
from
trying.
being a goalkeeper. So, I would say it's almost like a fight sport. Got a lot of concussions, actually, from people kicking my head. I'm not even joking.
That would explain so much.
It explains a lot. Don't worry. I know.
Honestly, I played a bit of goalkeeper.
Chess.
I played a bit of goalkeeper, and it's usually me getting in fights with my with the players on my team, because
it wasn't the defenders. It was me being very courageous, jumping on top of the ball, and then people being like, "Oh, that's a head. That's also a circular form," and kicking it instead.
How did we get on this?
You know how we got here. You know how we got here. It's because the players are late, which is why.
What a surprise! I always do this. Everyone will know this. If you
no, not
know
again.
what this meme is.
She's doing it again.
Yeah, she's doing it again.
Everyone
Next
knows
thing
what
she's
that
starting
means.
Guess
about
how? Just
saying
what?
that she's a coach and she would spank her own players if they were late.
I mean,
Nobody clipped that.
Not that kind. I mean, like with
my ears are perked up now. Yeah. I'm listening.
That has never happened in my entire life. I can very safely say in my entire professional career, I have never intended or wanted to do that. But nevertheless, speaking of professionalism, we have not been for the past minute and a half.
Set me on fire at this point. VP versus BDS. Which map will we be playing on?
Yes.
Show me what's going on.
Yeah.
Steinhappers, please. Ik ben teleurgesteld.
No, really?
Consulate.
Wow.
We're going to have a lot of consulates today. Jess, it's wonderful to see consulate being played so much, because we were on our own real life consulate over the past few days. So there it is. We get to see it IRL. Consulate, BDS on the attacking side, Virtus.Pro on defense. What's the take for this one?
Not a good map for VP, if I can just speak on the CIS region side. Not a good map here for VP, unlike Team Empire that seems to do a little bit better than them on this map. So lost against G2, lost against Na'Vi. Okay, there's been some OT stuff throughout this stage that they can look back on and say it was a close one. But no, it does look like it bodes a little better for BDS, albeit there's not a lot of stats for them, I think.
Shaiko needs 9 kills to hit 100. Like, this is the time to do it. It's the last game.
It is the last game. And by the way, he has been going, throughout the season. I think he will be going over 100 here today. I'm quickly checking the score, and I
just jinxed him,
by BDS against Rogue. No, I'm not the caster curse. That is Des. And M. Whenever M says, he's not been showing up that well, always aces. I don't know what it is, but it's always going on. But I was going to say, BDS did play on Consulate before. 7-3 victory over Rogue. And that was just before Rogue started to come in for the final, of course, sprint towards the top 4. So, very good result there for BDS.
So BDS want to remain in number 1, though, Hap. Why? Na'Vi are very close behind. They're tied in points currently, right? A win today, what's the difference between position 1 and 2? Well, I'm glad you asked there, Milos.
I'm glad you asked that, Milos. I'm glad you asked, really. There's no difference between 1 and 2 right now. The only difference is that Na'Vi has the head-to-head victory over BDS, which means that BDS needs to get the 3 points here today, or 2 or 1, depending on whatever it is they end up with. But Na'Vi needs to make 1 less than BDS if they want to get the first place. So if they win, if Na'Vi win, Na'Vi stay on the top. So you gotta hope. Yes. Do I need to?
What's the points? No. What's the difference?
I was going to say, long story short.
What's the SI point? What's the
less points than BDS? If they lose today, it's over. Then they're second place, and they get 390 SI points. Yes, that's exactly it. And if they win, it's not secured yet either. So it's
we're gonna have to see. We'll have to see what Na'Vi does. What's the difference in price pool and SI points, by the way? We are still waiting, by the way, for Virtus.Pro to join in. So, just sitting back and chilling,
77,500 euros for the team that comes in first place this stage, together with 510 SI points. So that would guarantee you top 4 for now in these standings. Whilst you only get 41,250 euros on the second place. So it's a big gap, a big 36,000 gap that is coming up there, and 390 SI points. So you'll be getting 120 less than the number 1. Still enough for for now, top 8 position on the standings. But of course, you want to go for the 5-10 if you really want to be setting yourselves up well for the next two stages.
Yeah, that's not even an average day for us. It's kind of ridiculous, the difference between them. So I understand. Gun for number one, right?
You got to go for gun number one.
You want it. You want it. And I think a lot of people misunderstand as well on the standings is that you could have a really good stage one. And I'm kind of looking back at how Rogue did last year. I hate to, reference that. A lot of people want to put it to the back of their minds and never remember it again. But I think when Rogue had a really poor second stage, that is something that one of these teams could unfortunately do. Mm-hmm. And they'd be banking on all the points they made in stage one so that they don't fall into relegation positions. They don't fall into positions that would otherwise compromise them. Let's say Na'Vi has a banging stage one, falls, wayward stage 2 and 3, that might actually put them in a really bad position. I think people don't know the longevity of the new season system. So, yeah, something to think about as well.
What to do on Consulate if you're Virtus.Pro to defeat BDS? Because we've both been saying, this is advantage BDS.
It's an advantage by very little statistics, so we don't have a lot of sample pool to go off of here or data. But I'm going to have a look at the fact that
Bye, Milosh.
Every time we hear Milosh getting food, mind you, it is currently a fasting period earlier for Milosh. So we have to give cutting a little bit of slack, benefit of the doubt. No one else is there to pick up the food for him. So he's got to run to the door, collect it, and he'll be back with us in a split second.
Very elegant, Milosh.
Very well done.
You didn't hear it. I said very elegant, Milosh, the way you came back there.
Nobody even knew that I was gone.
No one knew. You so quick, honestly.
Wow.
It's that was said, speed. Otherwise I wouldn't have noticed.
All right, Jess Happ, thank you so much. It is time to toss it to our casters who are ready for their game. It's game number 3, Virtus.Pro versus BDS. Des and Ace will bring us this wonderful game on Consulate. Enjoy.
And what a spectacle we are being given. Ace Milosh has just had his food arrive in time for one of the best games of the day because it's BDS, a team sat near the top, stepping up towards the top side. And of course, they'll be looking towards Na'Vi's game later on because Na'Vi have the head-to-head advantage. It's anyone's guess who comes out as number one at the end of this stage. But let's see if VP can play spoiler to BDS at the very least.
The question is Shaiko going to be eating up today? He had a couple of big moments yesterday, Des, but we know that he's one of those players that can absolutely turn a matchup on its head. I was looking at the numbers just before we came in, and he already has enough kills to have an average of more than 10 kills per play day, even if he gets 0 today. And that is just quite frankly ridiculous. The likelihood is if he gets 9 kills, Des, he hits triple figures inside of stage 1.
Tells you enough. All you need to know. Bans are underway then. Consulate, a map, by the way, that I look back to and think for BDS when they played against Temperate on this back in stage, I want to say it was stage 2. It may have been stage 1. They made them look silly. They played Rogue the next week. Same story. They looked like absolute kings on this map. And I just think that coming into it, knowing how VP have played so far this stage on this map, think about how close it was against Na'Vi, for example. How badly, I guess you could say, they gave it away against G2. It is their curse map. In my head, I'm putting the two of those kind of sides of the story together and thinking for BDS, this should be an absolute rollover for BDS. They should stomp their way over VP. But I'm hoping that finally we're going to see VP deliver on the promise and team play that we've seen on this map that just hasn't quite correlated into a win. Bans to rifle through though. Thatcher, Nomad, Valkyrie, and the Wamai. We commented on the Valkyrie and the Echo earlier on, and Secret not bringing along an IQ punished them a few times. So glad to see at least one of those painful operators to deal with is taken off the board.
Valkyrie and Nomad often have to go hand in hand on this map. If you see one banned, the other will usually follow. Reason being, Nomad, of course, can apply air jabs to windows, particularly here on Consulate, that are common for jump outs and run outs. So if those air jabs aren't on the board, with, I would say, 2 Valkyrie cams, you can probably cover approximately 70-80% of the outside of Consulate. So you just can't have that sort of danger of teams being able to get that much information on your location when it comes to rappelling and working outside of the building and then being able to just jump out of windows and doors for free. So generally, one will go with the other. So Nomad goes away, but Valkyrie along with her. So that's going to free up the roam a little bit it potentially for BDS though, because they're not going to have to worry about any of those air jabs deployed inside of the map either. So it might just give them a bit more of an opportunity to get out and stretch their legs as defenders. But that said, Des, we know that BDS quite often can be quite a static team in and around site.
They can be, often on the defensive side. That, of course, will come in the second half. But the one thing I really want to touch on is a conversation that we had a little earlier on today about the Aruni. On this map, she is brilliant because she can run up to any window or doorway, one-hit it and be straight outside. There is no chance really to react for the attacking team. And when Nomad's banned away, you've got to rely on those claymores. So what have BDS brought along? One on the Zofia, one on the Ash. Of course, that recent change coming in. That should be in a spot enough that they can look after the key locations like the yellow runout, for example, if you're trying to repel on console. But I'm going to be keeping a very close eye on Pasha in this game, especially when he's on the Aruni, and what kind of runouts he tries to pull through.
Site number one is press and lobby then. So what are we likely to see? Well, the attackers right now, BDS are stacking up around the admin side of the map over on the east. So they will likely to try to get boots on the ground inside of admin on the top floor. They're going to work across. They're going to try to clear out Kozheka and Milan, who are just waiting for them up there on the top floor. And once they have that top floor control, we can see the vertical holes that have been opened up in the floor of meeting, which is where Kozheka is currently defending. They're going to try to use those vertical angles to support a push in through the main double door and ultimately a plant inside of that door or somewhere around the circle desk. But Pasha is playing downstairs on the Aruni. Now, there's not too much he can do directly from down there, but it's something they need to be aware of because he could hit them very easily on the flank from the spiral stairs.
I feel like I'm playing Splinter Cell with the amount of zero cams that we're seeing in this round so far. Rafala's got the Visa side on lockdown at the minute in terms of information back and forth. It is kind of the interesting state that a lot of teams looked at Zero and said, you basically gained a Valkyrie on your team here, but look, knowing how thin and how narrow they are, you can do so much damage with them, and straight away, that info is going to pay off dividends as they saw the Mosley step in. Excellent call up there and great team play. This is where you're seeing that togetherness of BDS come to shine.
Great use of the information there. Shaiko able to shut down the opener, but will be traded out. Quite a late trade from Milan there, but Kozheka does get downed along the way. He's going to drop himself like a game of Plinko all the way down to that basement, and Pasha just waiting there with open arms on the Aruni, able to resurrect Kozheka and put him back up onto 20 HP, but loses his life in doing so. Des Rafal getting in there very quickly, ferreting him out and finding the kill.
Well, it's enough to keep things rolling. Yeah, sure, one was traded back, but you've got rid of the two big players really on the side of Virtus.Pro. If you remove Milan from the equation, someone that has had an incredible game on this map before. I'm looking to Rask in a lot of these rounds because against Na'Vi, he was the instigator of chaos in so many rounds. He was greeting Doki or other entrants into the map early on, springing up on the other end of the map 30 seconds later and causing absolute chaos. So for him to go down early, it's going to sting. But here we go. Briday's not quite sure what to do against the smokes as they come singing out on the front door. Surely panic stations now go on for BDS, who might be a bit punished here for their slowness. WTG's out. Can he get into Bridday? It doesn't matter at this point as they've all been put in the dirt. I said the one player that's left is going to be Milan, and with him left alive, he gets to 3k. BDS, as good as the round started, can't quite close it out. VP with round number 1 on the board.
Great start from VP there, getting themselves off to a flyer. It was a good defense. They felt like they were on the back foot for a lot of that round, Des. We had Kozheka downed, having to drop down 2 levels to be collected. Pasha loses his life as he's doing so, but Kozheka manages to wriggle away with 20 HP. But then all of a sudden, Virtus.Pro just seemed to dig their heels in, and they were able to turn back the tide of BDS that was just washing over them at that point. And BDS just didn't really have sufficient or significant enough control to be able to guide Rafal inside that double door and plant safely. I spoke about the top floor. They had the control up there. They'd forced them away, but the big problem for them was bathroom. Coming in from windows, WTG just making a big play, jumping out of the window there and taking his opportunity. He knew that there was too much going on around that main door for them to be able to recognize the danger that could come from that window jump out, and it just all fell to pieces when that original kill went in, and then there was added pressure as Milan was able to still move around. And interesting round from BDS, but they're still looking a little bit shook from yesterday, possibly.
think you give them a bit of time to bed into this one as well. And for them, they know that how important this game is. We kind of touched on it at the very start of the game. They are tied dead even on points with Na'Vi, and because they lost to Na'Vi, they lose the head-to-head. So if this is a win for BDS and Na'Vi also win later, Na'Vi pull ahead, they sit in first place. They have had one hell of a glow compared to how things went for them last year. That much is for sure. But for BDS, it means getting all 3 points here to even give yourself a chance in that kind of conversation. Top left of your screen, you've probably seen these flying in throughout the day. You can see how the recent play days have gone for these teams. When you look at it like that, out of isolation of context of the games that they were played, you look at 2 losses to BDS and think, man, surely they can't be that good if they've lost 2 games, right? But it's all they've lost in a long time.
I'm going to say it's not quite how it goes, really. In that small cross-section of 5 games, you might be absolutely right in thinking that 40% loss rate at that point. But when you extend that just a little bit further, BDS are certainly the powerhouse of EU. They find themselves currently sat second place to Na'Vi. They look to basically outscore Na'Vi today. That's the top and bottom of it. They can't finish on the same number of points. They both come in on 20 today, and whoever scores the most, with a tie leading to Na'Vi taking the top spot, gives Na'Vi a slight advantage in that battle.
They've got the 0 coming out again, but this time around it's with the Claymore, by the way. So they're not bringing along 2. Now they've got 3 of them, which doesn't really leave a lot of room for actual thrown utility, i.e. you're going to have to burn all of these 3 flashes into ADSs for the 2 grenades from LMs to have any real impact on site. That is, of course, when we start thinking about the downstairs, because right now there's a bit of a war on top floor. There's a war downstairs as well. Consulate has turned into a battleground. It feels like a kill traded to either side, and those grenades we were speaking about, not going to see any use this round, Ace.
Absolutely not. They go along with Alem there, and Renshiro, he's looking to clear out this top floor now, and Roma's just proving a bit of a problem for BDS. As what a shot from Rask, just managing to find an angle around that window ledge and gets the kill onto Renshiro, giving Virtus.Pro another advantage. Are we really seeing stage 2 of the resurgence of Virtus.Pro here? But BDS, they managed to level things up 2-2 on the board now, and we're coming into the final minute. Milon, he's looking to just lock this down from the security room, but he's got Shaiko and Rafal ahead of him who have other ideas.
Got to get himself outside and recover the diffuser first and foremost. The 2 versus 2 and 45 seconds to play leaves a lot of breathing room for either side, but work to be done. I was kind of shocked by Rafal versus Rask a second ago, who first got shot on his run through antechamber, carried on into the bathroom, and then got shot in the back whilst he was still running for the hatch drop. Like, you know there's a guy that's just shot you. Why aren't you turning around to try and take a potential fight against him? Or are you really just that nervous that you're going to get pinched if you don't get down there fast enough? I don't know, but it was a little bit weird to die so freely there and give an absolute freebie over to Rafal. 15 seconds to go, though. Those 45 seconds, sorry, have burnt down to nothing, and here come BDS. And of course, you're going to be terrified when Shaiko is leading the charge. Karjeka, he's pulled off some big clutches on this map. Can he do it again? Finds one. May need to reload here as well. Might have to, but here we go. He hits the deck. Shotgun's out, but Rafal wins it out for Karjeka, who's had so many big 1v2s on this map in previous weeks. Sadly, today is not going to be that day.
Karjeka's had a big clutch from that exact location, Des, from playing in and around that mirror. I think it was 1 versus 2, and he did a great job of it, but unfortunate there, Rafal just able to finish him off. I think players are starting to get very used to that 1v1 and somebody hits the deck. They're now looking at a prone level. They've seen it happen too many times and they're not going to fall foul of it themselves. But the interesting battle coming in with Shaiko able to remove Milon on the Maestro, Des. He comes in. Shaiko sometimes just seems like bullets don't stick. The Auda landed a couple of shots, but Shaiko still able to get that kill. Milon was lower on health to begin with in that gunfight, and Shaiko just came in and absolutely decimated him. But ultimately, BDS, they win out the round. However, it went down. It's now 1-1 on the scoreboard, and we're heading into round number 3. This time, we're going all the way up to the top floor.
Setup-wise, I'll always mention it when I see it here. Rooney coming out again for Pashra said we keep a very close eye on it. And it wasn't him who did the run out in the previous rounds. It was actually WTG who jumped out of the antechamber window in round number 1. But you're still thinking about that aggression getting outside the map, which you have the luxury of using when the Nomad is banned away. So let's keep a close eye again on how that proceeds in this round. Otherwise, it's about the Intel versus Intel denial game, where you have these Maestro bubbles, and you also got the Pest from the Mozzie out here looking to inhibit BDS somewhat. But as we've seen so far in all of these rounds, for Rafal, it's not been about drone play. It's been all about those cameras.
Round number 3 then, BDS shaping up towards the west side here, which would suggest we're likely going to see some pressure onto yellow stairs. Rafal moving in, very cautious and aware of the potential dangers coming from the many windows of Consulate. Doesn't want to be giving away any hit points too quickly or too easily now. They need to clear out at least one of these laser gates that have been applied to the console windows to allow the drones in. There we go. And more utility rains in before Renshiro looks to follow it on up with those concussive grenades just to see exactly what's going on inside, and they'll be looking to clear out any relevant utility as well. So right now, BDS, they are shaping up for a plant in behind that console desk. The drones, they come flying in, Renshiro and Playday both at the same time, just trying to find exactly where those defenders are, try and get the locations on them so they can think about a potential plant here. And I'm looking, Des, and Virtus.Pro, they're a little bit light on site here. There could be an opportunity for BDS.
It could be, but what makes me the most nervous is, well, one, you've got the C4 from Ras potentially from below, plus you've got the heavy intel gain coming out from the 2 VP members with those bulletproof cams. What makes me slightly nervous, though, is that they've burnt through the ADSs with all the utility that BDS had, and now they've got no way of expelling them because the grenades didn't come out. LM's now dead with 2 grenades in pocket once again. That's the second time this has happened. They aren't getting to use any of this destructive utility they've got because they seem a little bit out of sync, BDS, on a couple of these attacks. It is early doors, but that's how it's feeling, Ace.
WTG's just done a huge job for Virtus.Pro there, shutting down LMs and Renshiro as they tried to get control of console, and then he gets a third on the round, and it's just as important, if not more so, finding the kill onto the plant in Playday. So that now leaves us 4 versus 1. It's all down to Rafal. The Surya gate is reactivated, Des. Its time had elapsed and it was available to be used again. Here comes the one-punch run-out that you were talking about, but the Claymore will slow Pasha down. Rafal hears that barricade break. He looks to move around, but he's completely unaware of Pasha's ultimate location, and he's shut down, and Virtus.Pro find themselves in the lead once again, and this is looking like a different Virtus.Pro to the one we've seen previously, Des.
I don't want to take it away from Virtus.Pro, but I do again put some of this on BDS, where they committed their concussions, they committed their flashes, and you heard the ADS is being zapped at about the 1:50 mark. And then nothing happened. They'd done all this work to clear through the Surya gates, the ADSs, so on and so forth. And then nothing happened. Sledge didn't use any frags. We didn't really see any big aggressive play coming out. Yeah, sure, Zofia fired the impacts in, but it was tame. And I was like, this is normally BDS's go button. They like to go early. They don't like to be caught in the late round when there's no time left. But instead, they kind of drip-fed players in one by one into console and hope they could make it work. Nothing really came out of it. And an uncharacteristically slow-paced round, admittedly, yes, largely down to the intel setup coming out of VP. There was nothing BDS could do without information being fed to Virtus.Pro thanks to the bubbles or thanks to the 2 bulletproof cams they had. It was a great setup, but for BDS, it lacked a little bit of pace and panache that we're used to seeing out of them.
It did. I think the big difference that we're really seeing out of Virtus.Pro is that they are punishing those mistakes, Des. BDS are certainly making them, but for a mistake to be picked up, it usually needs to be punished severely, and that is exactly what Virtus.Pro were able to do, and it's, I think, something that they've failed to do in previous weeks at every opportunity, and that's why we've seen the sort of shortfall in overtime particularly. It's just, you know, one or too many occasions whereby the opportunity is presented to them, but they aren't able to get it shut down, but they have done so far today, and against one of the best teams in the league. So no doubt Virtus.Pro, they're going to be looking to just continue this on, move from round to round as quickly as possible, keep themselves hot inside of the server. BDS right now looking to get themselves access into admin. It's going to be Pasha's job to prevent that happening. I think he's just caught the tail end of a drone moving past that freezer unit inside of the small kitchen cafeteria area there. He manages to clear it out. It's going to chase him away, but it's going to chase him right into the reticle of Renshiro, who shuts him down from the skylight.
Okay, it's a great start, and now we start to see BDS in a numbers advantage where they can really start pulling things ahead. Pasha being one of the ones that you remove, never a bad thing. Of course, not on the Aruni in this round as we've seen previously. Maybe thinks a bit of a different role to play here. Not a man who's going to wait for the late round runouts potentially, or wants to have an early impact on the Jaeger. Of course, once all that utility is deployed, you start thinking immediately about what can I do around the map. But here's Rask, the Monkey King of console. I'd love to call him because he is seemingly everywhere. He's going to drop away pretty quickly. And here comes a Lemon hot pursuit, mind you. He's like, you can't run from BDS. You know who we are.
It was almost like a Lem was attached to Rask by a long rubber band there, Des. And as much as Rask tried to run away, all it did was just create this faster and faster chase from LM, who was able to shut his man down. Gets him superiority inside of Piano as well, and he's the perfect operator to have exactly that. Starts opening up the vertical angles with the sledge. Now, very aware of the potential for a nitro as well. We've seen plenty of them over the past couple of playdays, so we've seen LMs a couple of times just jumping up on top of those desks. He's keeping himself mobile, and he's trying to make it difficult for them to hit him with that explosive. Now here comes the danger as he moves through into the antechamber there. That's where we could see him coming unstuck. There's a pre-placed under the floor, but for now Lems keeps himself safe. No, he does not, because Jekka hits it at exactly the right time, maybe supported by a bit of information there, but that leaves us 3 versus 4, and Virtus.Pro once again fighting back.
And there is one more C4 left. WTG can have a massive impact here. It depends on when the push comes in. Without the smoke, that's what you're relying on to deny a plant if it's going to come through. And you can see Playday is chomping at the bit. He's saying, take me off the leash and I'll be bolting in there like a hound. And here we go. Almost a distraction tactic maybe coming out behind him here to make them think that he's only just going to start thinking about going in. Out comes the C4. In fact, he's being zapped by Milan off to the side. It will go down though. Sure, he gets finished off, but Diffuser's on the ground. Advantage now to BDS. They've got the vertical control. They've got the outside control. It's going to be a real war for Milan to do anything here. Takes 1, but is now going to go on to win 2. Has no idea where the assailants are, but Shaiko, he always strikes when most needed. BDS take round number 4. We've definitely got a game on our hands here, Ace.
Always going to be difficult for Milan there. Low health on the Maestro. He had the Howder in hand, but holding mouse 1 is not going to save you from 1 bullet to the dome. And BDS, they're able to close that round out. 2-2 now. It looks like we've got a little bit of a technical issue with a Milan game crash, so we'll no doubt come back to our faces. There we go. Get the old glasses on so I can see Des.
I remember last time we did this, we came back and your lights are off, your glasses weren't on, and I was like, Ace, are you there? And I just saw the sudden like the lights glow on. It was like an evil Bond villain, just like, I see you've been expecting me. And I was like, oh, I've
got the lights on a remote now. I had to get the lights on a remote. Yeah, I mean, it gets very hot sat in front of the lights sometimes. I do tend to leave them on now that we've got the tactical pauses. It's easier to leave them on sometimes. But the glasses do still come off, because if I wear the glasses this close to a screen all the time, I get bad headaches. So that's why the glasses come off. It's a very different look when I'm casting, you see.
To be fair, mate, I'm the same, but I haven't gone as quite as technically advanced as getting a remote yet. I've got one there that stays on as long as the door's open, else it does turn into a sauna in here, right? And one here that I have to always quickly go, quick, turn it on. Like, oh, okay, it's on. Okay, quick, back to camera. Let's go. Always. And it's such a mad rush. Yesterday, I wore a jacket and had to take it off my chair, swing it back on. Like, right, we're back here, boys. Okay. Hi, I'm on desk and it's all okay. It was just absolute chaos. But let's talk about the game itself, because this is descending not into chaos, but it is proving to be a really interesting game so far, where we thought coming in BDS would be super strong, and they have been pretty good. But VP are definitely giving them a run for their money.
That's the thing. It's not chaotic, as you say, but what it is a little bit unexpected. We thought BDS would be coming in here and dominating this, but Virtus.Pro, it's fair to say, have been getting better and better Playday by Playday, and that seems to be continuing now. They're taking advantage of the BDS errors, particularly on that top floor defense, and they're finding themselves scores on the doors, and that's exactly what they need. It's going to just boost their confidence. Now, BDS, they must be feeling beaten up after yesterday. That is not an easy game to lose. When Shaiko gets a 4K in round 12 to take you to overtime, you then take the lead and have a match point to actually ultimately lose that game, which could lose you the top spot in the long run. That's going to have an effect. That's going to play on these players mentally, especially when they're playing less than 24 hours later. So Virtus.Pro, I think, are catching BDS at the right time here as well.
Have you hit your flip switch to turn your lights off, Ace?
Lights stay on for the time being, because we'll see what happens. We don't want any more technical issues, but the glasses are off, Des.
The glasses
That's a little update on the status.
And the game is very real. You are right, though. I think that's BDS as being one of the teams that always give us absolute screamers. I'm sure that you'll recall the round 15 on Theme Park, the toe shot that came through in their game against G2. Unbelievable. And that exact same game you were speaking about yesterday when they played against Kavana all the way to round 15, a closing 1v1, mind you, as well, was just unbelievable. And if nothing else, it was a shot through a Goyo shield that killed Shaiko and won the game from Kavana from Grizzly. They love to bring us to tight games. That's what I love about watching BDS, is although you always come in assuming they're going to win and walk over most teams, you can never be guaranteed that it's going to be that cut and dry.
Absolutely not. And looking at the BDS attack this time, they are switching things up. They are looking to move over to admin, but WTG, last time playing inside a meeting, this time on the pulse, he's going to be feeding that information in. Shaiko gets in there and just runs absolutely full pace into the middle of admin. If you wonder why he did that, look at where he has stopped, purposely stopping himself on top of the reinforced hatch. Now, that is big brain play, Des. That is avoiding the potential for a nitro hitting you from underneath. Shaiko just looking to get in here aggressively as possible and find kills. It's something that we picked up on last time that BDS didn't do. They weren't aggressive enough. As you say, they threw utility in there, but didn't follow in behind it to take advantage. So right now they're trying to speed things up, and they're also going for the opposite take. They're leaving the yellow stairs, they're leaving the console windows alone for the time being, and it's all focusing on meeting. And what a headshot from Shaiko onto Rask, and that gets us underway in round 5.
Shaiko's just better. Only way I can put it. Rask is struggling to make an impact against the entry might that is coming out of BDS so far. And the info they're given with these zero cams, it is so cautious and sensible. Rating it big time. They're dealing with the aggressive play that VP do, but it seems now to be the later round where they struggle ever so slightly. And sure enough, Milan, solid as a rock inside a connector, gets one back onto Shaiko. 4 versus 4 and about 70 seconds to play.
That's the danger for Shaiko right now. He keeps coming in and getting the entries, which is his job, and he's doing a fantastic work at it, but he's getting shut down too soon afterwards. He's not generally doubling down. You can see 5 rounds, 5 kills. BDS, they could just do with squeezing that extra drop or 2 out of him. They can't always be reliant, but those are certainly the performances where they do shine. Now, Pasha shines as he shuts down Rafal, finds a second with a kill onto Renshiro, and Virtus.Pro, they take another Des. It's 3-2.
Impressive from Virtus.Pro, and we've had the conversation about them in recent weeks. We'll mention this point again, bring up this old chestnut of how close they've come in a few games when it's gone into overtime. On this map in particular, they have been so unfortunate where they, in my opinion at least, have outgunned, outclassed the other side, but then lose like 3 versus 1s. I remember against Citizen, there must have been 2 or 3 3v1s that they were in and still gave it away because they constantly took 1v1s, and the same in the play against Kayak. And we're seeing a bit more composure today where, sure, they're still looking to take these entry fights, but the C4 kills that are coming through, the kills are taken from these long angles like Milan and Pasha. Beautiful stuff, and it's really just halting BDS in their tracks. This is what I think we all expected to see out of VP throughout the stage. And I would love to say, you know, thank God that it hasn't all gone to draws and it's gone to overtime in a lot of cases. But fact of the matter is, Virtus.Pro have come off worse in most of those cases.
Certainly have. We're heading up to the top floor then. It will be console, and this time around, I wonder whether we will see that approach to the top floor. Last time, obviously pushing towards press and lobby. BDS choosing to get themselves into admin and sweep across, but will they do the same here? They had a failing last time on console to be able to lock down the top floor and to get themselves in, even to the map. In most cases, they managed to struggle Playday in there, but he was shut down as he tried to get the diffuser down. So we'll see how BDS go about this differently.
Alrighty, let's step in and have a talk about the changes. Pasha is off the Jaeger and back onto the Aruni. Like seeing him on that so far, keen to see what delivers. I will touch on again, BDS making consistent use of the Zero. They aren't a team that really likes to change their attacking lineups. Once they've got a setup, they tend to like to sit on what they've got. And I like how they're making good use of the Zero to whole, you know, the whole east side of things for the most part. You saying about the drone or about something else?
The drone, I love that. Just pinging it out for his teammate, not shooting it, and then up pops Rask on the Mozip. I'll have that.
Just nick the info away for sure, and Shaiko put in the dirt once again. At least in the last round, he found the entry kill, and they must have read into this as well. This is the thing about BDS, is they very often do the same thing over and over again, and I think this is why a lot of teams like taking them to Oregon and why they've lost there. It's one of the most popular maps, but at the minute stands as their worst map statistically. It's because teams know what they do and they know how to react, so much so that they constantly draw buck bans against Shaiko because all he does is push underneath with it from the west whenever we're attacking onto the upstairs sites. And here they know that he will always, without fail, it feels like, push in from yellow when you're attacking this site.
Ras doing a lot of damage to Elem there, and he's going to dip away from that fight. He knows that his job is done, and Elem has to play this round particularly carefully now, finding himself on about 15 HP. 1 bullet from almost any distance on any of the automatic rifles at least will be able to put him down, but Rask, he just keeps himself locked inside of that bathroom for the time being, and it is a difficulty for BDS because look in Rask's pocket, he's got a nitro. They can't leave him underneath because that's exactly what he wants. He's managed to capture drones. He's using them here, as we can see, for information, and that is the one that I was really hoping that we would see. Thank you, medics. So he has now got a drone located, looking at the default plant spot. They have to deal with Rask because he can see if they go in and try and get the diffuser down, and all he's going to do is he's going to walk his way in there. He's going to throw that explosive up onto the ceiling, and he's going to destroy the LMs. He's taking another bite at the cherry. He's trying to put the shots onto Rask, and he does put the frighteners in there, so that dips back Rask further into bathroom. And right now it's 3 versus 3, 50 seconds left to go, and this one's on a knife edge.
You ask me, this is where you're seeing the duality of man, or the duality of Rask. He loves being aggressive, likes getting up in the grill of entry players, but here he was planning to sit back and play behind that C4. But sadly, BDS, with the numbers they have, pinch in. Milan again from around connector, connects onto a LEMS. That is honestly his power position. Previous rounds, he's got 2K, 3K from there. Here, shutting down another one in the mid-round. And we find ourselves in a similar spot to round 2, where yes, it's a different site. We're upstairs and not downstairs, but it's a 2v2 to close, Ace.
So far, BDS really struggling in what is sort of a war of attrition here, Des. We've already lost a Lem there to a fairly easy kill to Milan because he was low health. It was one shot, and so you lose your fights. Milan manages to find Playday, and ultimately Rafal is the last left, 35 HP. It's again an easy mop-up for Milan. So a great round from Virtus.Pro there, where they weren't panicked by losing men. They just kept fighting, kept chipping away at BDS and leaving them at a severe disadvantage in those gunfights.
Say a great round for Virtus.Pro. I want to talk about the half. They've come out on the defensive console at 4-2 against BDS. Now, look, I don't want to be the Giga cynic here. BDS maybe no, look, we're top 2. That can't really change. We're thinking about what's coming up in a couple of weeks' time. We don't want to show too much. That being said, we are seeing the 0 being brought along. I don't know if they've kind of mentally checked out and are thinking about SI in 2 or 3 weeks' time, but that's all not to take away from Virtus.Pro and the excellence at which they're playing so far. This is, again, the team that I think we all really wanted to see throughout the first half, or through the majority of the stage, to be honest with you. Let's see how their attacks fare, though, because if they can keep this up, like a couple of other teams today, I think it's going to be a really good sign of what's to come in Stage 2 and how much work these teams can put in the off-season.
It's an interesting question that you posed, Des, but it's one that BDS, if that is a game that they're playing, they need to be very careful with it, because alongside that top spot, there is a difference in SI points between first and second. There's a difference in prize money between first and second. This isn't just about SI 21, which is coming up. This is about SI 22 as well, and qualifying for next year. And, ultimately, say BDS tail off a little bit, don't have the season that they expect, and all of a sudden find themselves 50, 100 points short of that qualification, you start looking back potentially and thinking that second place could have actually cost us there.
Think about it this way, Ace. We get 2 SIs in a 9-month window.
Oof.
That's the silver lining, right? Normally, you'd be
I don't
saying,
think it gets better than that.
We didn't get SI in February, you're right, but it still means we get 2 in 9 months. Hopefully, I can't assume they want to delay it and move the schedules of majors again next year, in which case 2 top-tier international tournaments taking place in a 9-month window. Not going to say no to that. But let's have a close eye on what's going on for BDS. 2 C4s in pocket, maybe screams a little bit of the denial plan coming out, and we're seeing the smoke coming along too. What I'm really curious about, thinking about it, Ace, is why is it Rafal playing the smoke and not Playday? We know that Playday is a god with the SMG. He's a well-known smoke main, but here they made a couple of changes here.
Bringing along the Goyo instead, as you say, with those Volcan shields. It's going to be interesting. We'll keep a close eye on Rafal as the round progresses. We'll see exactly what happens when the final execution comes and how effective that smoke is used. Of course, 3 Toxic Babe canisters in his pocket can waste up to about 30 seconds. Now then, you can see they are all still in hand at the minute, as we would hope at the halfway stage. 1.5 minutes left to go. Basically, what you're wanting to do is use those Toxic Babes in the final 30 to 40 seconds on the default plant spot to prevent the attackers getting in there and being able. You're trying to burn the remainder of the round. Now, Lems is going to be downed on the Bandit, finished off by Milan once again. He's having a great game so far, finding himself the opener 10-4 here. Now, Playday will shut down Pasha with a headshot, so that's sort of question 1 answered. There's Playday on the Goyo. He does not mind the Vector.
Doesn't mind the Vector, wants to play more off-site with the C4, wants to push up Spiral. I get it. If you're playing the smoke on this site, you're playing a very static role where your job is to sit inside a cafeteria and be yeeting those smoke canisters out towards the breach, of course, once it's actually opened up, because that's where the plant focus is going to come in. Now, what you're seeing coming out on this wall from Karjeka, the two ones to the left are up quite high. The opening to the right is low. They want to get in low to go for the plant off towards the side of right van, but likelihood is they want someone on the upside down rappel to play around that larger, higher hole to be able to contest those that are playing further back inside a cafeteria, for example, namely looking for a foul, the guy that we were talking about earlier on, and aiming to bring down the smoke, or potentially even the echo that Renshiro is at. And me and you love speaking about power spikes, Ace, in this game. Renshiro's about to hit his in the dying 10 seconds or so, because think about the damage that can be done with those yokais.
Certainly is, and of course he'll have plenty of charges here. The stuns haven't been used so far, assuming the drones haven't been taken out, but they're not going to need it at this rate, as Milon and WTG manage to find themselves kills apiece. 3 versus 2, but Karjeka, he's getting the diffuser down. I don't think they're aware, Des. They can't have been. There was no attempt to shut that down. Either that or Renshiro is out of yokai drones and they've been destroyed. One way or another, the diffuser is on the ground and active. Karjeka will be finished off, but Rask, he manages to trade that out onto Renshiro. It's all down to Shaiko. How many times have we said that, and how many times does he manage to follow it up with a win? 1 versus 2, but time is ticking by. 14 seconds to find 2 kills and get on the diffuser. Surely it's not going to be enough. Des, he finds one on Rask. He's got about 8 seconds to find Milon here. He challenges from the yellow stairs. He knows where he is. Shut down by Milon on a headshot, and Milon right now, he's on a tear. He's unstoppable for Virtus.Pro.
He is having a field day, is the only way that I can describe it. Absolutely agree with you. And all that we were kind of orchestrating in that round came to be. It wasn't an upside down rappel that really got them to challenge. I don't know if that was more what I call the kind of phantom pressure, right? Whereby the fact that you lights on, Ace, tactical timeout coming in. Come on, let's hit the button and get those glasses back on.
I'm just putting my hair back up. I'm just putting my ponytail back.
Sorting his ponytail out, guys, making sure that one's all tucked away. No one could be seeing that.
Don't want it all hanging down on the shoulders and giving the game away.
It's got to be concealed.
Hang on. No.
He's such a tease, this guy, always. But to kind of go back on that point again, we were talking about the opening, and it's more about the phantom pressure that's created. Is someone on the upside down rappel or not? You don't know until you peek it, and by then it can be too late. But instead what they had was Milon on yellow stairs, challenging onto Rafal, who's playing inside a cafeteria. He got off one smoke canister, wrong place, and then died straight after as soon as the first one came out. So really good play by Virtus.Pro. The coordination on that site goes to show, and I think answer the question we were talking about in round number 2. Is this a bit of a one-off here, and we're going to see BDS warm into things, or a VP just better? As it stands, they're at 5 and 2 and are frankly just better right now.
I don't want to paint this terrible situation for Virtus.Pro, Des, but coming in yesterday, if you remember, I was tweeting the list of things that had to happen for Virtus.Pro to get themselves into the top 4, and out of all of the lists, I have to admit that one of the ones that I thought would be a struggle for them would be securing 6 points. They had 2 difficult games, and it was not going to be easy for them to secure all 6 points. They had to beat Team Secret, and they had to beat BDS. And right now, Des, it's looking like they are very capable of doing their part. But I don't want to go even further on this, but Trainhard needed to beat Rogue. And that happened, Des. Trainhard needed to beat Vitality, and that happened. Na'Vi need to beat G2. If Virtus.Pro win here, if Na'Vi beat G2, the only thing that will have stopped Virtus.Pro from achieving a top 4 finish will have been the fact that G2 and Rogue didn't go to overtime. That's the margin.
Imagine the pain. You just sit down, have a conversation, a breakdown, and go, right, boys, the only reason we lost was this. You'll be frothing at the chops. That game, the one result. It's like when you put like a quid on an accumulator, right? And you can see it's a 23 grand payout. You got 9 matches on there, and one match doesn't go your way because someone scores in the 93rd minute. It's that kind of heartbreak and pain.
Those are literally, the levels that we're talking about. We said that the stars needed to align for Virtus.Pro to finish 4th, and they really did. And I can't, 5 out of 6 steps for them to get there to be completed is almost unbelievable. And this is looking like number 4, and it will just leave us down to that final Na'Vi G2 result. But back to the game at hand. We can dream all day long, but it doesn't matter because Virtus.Pro will not be getting 4th place. They can, however, challenge for as high up the table as they can possibly manage. And given the stage that they've had, I'm sure that is going to be a great consolation for them. Milon once again Des doubling down on his performance, comes in with an opener, this time onto Bredey, taking the Malusi off the board. It's not the end of the world in terms of gadgetry. Those Banshees will already be applied and active, but Rask, he manages to get in and find one onto Renshiro. Shaiko taking about 98 damage there. He is a breath away from death, and it is not looking good for BDS here. Virtus.Pro looking to just catapult themselves onto the match point.
Shaiko just wants to play Rainbow Six Siege very hard edition, I think, here. Stepping into 1 HP, knowing you have to hit every shot first time without anything being fired back. He really wants to give himself a challenge, but I think either way you're looking at it, with him and Rafal being the last two left standing and all the pressure now starting to bear down on them from VP, who have still got 75 seconds to play with, I don't see how they hold on. Milan has been an absolute terror this whole game. In round 8, he's on 13 kills. Rask is finally making an appearance in the game too, with 2 kills in the round. Oh, that's the kind of shot I'm talking about. No. That made me nervous then. I started sweating in my palms. I could feel it. That is one of the naughtiest shots, the filthiest things I have seen in the last 12 months.
Forget the last 12 months, Des. I'm going to extend that to say, honestly, I think that's one of the most horrible kills I have ever seen whilst watching what must now be several thousand hours of Siege. That you don't come back from that, Des. That man is ending careers at that point. That is absolutely ridiculous. And I just want to throw it in, Des. Shaiko just got 2 kills, which puts him on 9. So the second where he got the man led down inside of Piano, that was his 100th kill of the stage. He's done it. He's hit triple figures.
The man's gone big. Absolutely insane. And there's only a couple of players, I think, later on today that can hope to compete with that kind of number, right? Who's our highest at the minute, actually? Shaiko was on 92 before this game. Doki's on 90. We've got Citizen on 88. Pasha's on 84. He needs 16. Is it a stretch that he'll get there? Probably. There's a few players that are looking for it, no doubt, but that's one of them kills I think that you're just going to see all across the timeline. And all you're going to hear later on is me and you going, "Oh!" all across the timeline. Can't wait to see that. And I mean,
why not? Because, you know, a silly kill deserves a silly noise, Des.
I actually think, you said that. Milan is also on 100 kills. His 13 kills that he has here puts him on top of his 87 that he had before. He is also breaking the 3-digit barrier. What a game. Look at this.
What a game. You can't, I mean...
What is that? What is that?
In fact, Des, no, I was wrong. He started on 92, not 91. That was his 100th kill.
Imagine that.
Number 100.
Imagine that being your 100th kill in the season. Oh my God.
Doing it in style. Coming in then, Virtus.Pro overall, in the grand scheme of things, they're the ones doing anything in style right now. They are 6-2 coming into round 9. This is match point, and they're going to have plenty of opportunities, 4 to be precise, to close out this game and take the full 3 points. They're going to be attacking this time onto console. They're looking towards the top floor. Shaiko's in and around the yellow stairs. He will no doubt likely try to hold on to that. We're just holding back from the Mozzie Pest there, aware that the drone will be nicked if they try to go inside, so they're just going to hold themselves off, try and keep a hold of that information for the time being.
I think it's just balmy looking at the top of the screen and seeing 6-2 to Virtus.Pro on console. Hands up who had this one in their predictions, because it definitely wasn't me or any of us on the talent team, I don't think. WTG uncharacteristically with an opening kill, by the way, onto Shaiko. Not an exchange that you really expect to see given the roles of these players, but if the boot fits, you're definitely not going to say no. It is already then a numbers advantage for Virtus.Pro, and for BDS, you're already starting to sweat a bit now, thinking, oh no. Is it really going to go this way on the last day of the season? Are we going to hand the championship over to Na'Vi? Here we go. Rask with one onto Rafal. He was on the Echo. He blasted him out, but doesn't take the gunfight. Not quite sure what that was all about. 2 kills come back the other way. Make it 3. And Alem says, our story doesn't end here. There's still some more rounds to play. And Alems, I thank you, because this game needs it.
The problem is that there's one man still on the board, Des, and that man's name is Milon, and he manages to turn the tide, find a kill. It's his 14th of the game. WTG backs him up, and right now they've got an opportunity to get this diffuser down. It's all about the cover from WTG. Bredey, he's on the prowl. He's stalking. He's trying to find his man, but no, WTG shuts him down through the rotation, and that is going to be a great Playday 9 win for Virtus.Pro, taking down the top of the table, and now Na'Vi know they only need 1 point. In fact, they don't need anything, Des. That has just secured the #1 spot for Na'Vi, because they tied on points and they have the head-to-head.
I tell you what, Kavana and Na'Vi, the UK teams, have been handed some freebies today because the results have gone their way. For example, Rogue losing locks Kavana into third. BDS losing locks Na'Vi into first place. It's the rise of the UK Massive. What can I say? What a day it has been so far. And I love about this game, 9 rounds. If you said to me in 9 rounds the score ends 7-2 between these two teams, no one
Who's it gonna
would
be?
have said that it would be Virtus.Pro walking away with a scoreline like that. And even with a God shot from Shaiko, it goes to show that gods can bleed, and sometimes games still won't go your way, even with shots like that.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. I want to be proved wrong on every prediction I make because that is where the excitement comes in. If I can come into a Playday and say those 5 teams are going to win and that's what happens, then where's the fun? Let's have the upsets. Let's have the shocks. And Virtus.Pro certainly did that. Let's see if our analyst desk are as surprised as we are.
It definitely caught me off guard, not gonna lie. Food arrived.